The Hidden Empire, controlling global money, soft orchestral build, slow-motion visuals of money printing presses, world leaders shaking hands, digital networks glowing across Earth, empires rise and fall, Rome ruled with swords, Britain ruled with ships, but the modern empire rules with spreadsheets. It has no flag, no army, no anthem, yet it governs how much food you can afford, how high your rent goes, and how your savings slowly disappear. This empire doesn't conquer land, it conquers belief. Every time you swipe a card, take a loan, or check your balance, you're playing by its rules. Most people don't even know it exists, but once you see it, you'll never look at money the same way again. This is the story of the hidden empire controlling global money. To understand this empire, we have to go back to a small town in New Hampshire in 1944, Bretton Woods. The world was still bleeding from 2 world wars. Nations were bankrupt, their currencies were worthless. Something had to replace the chaos. So, 44 countries met to design a new global system, one that would keep the peace through money. They chose the US dollar, backed by gold, as the world's reserve currency. Every other currency would be tied to the dollar, and the dollar would be tied to gold. Stability, guaranteed by America's vaults at Fort Knox, but there was a problem. America began printing more dollars than it had gold. Other nations started to notice. By the late 1960s, France, under Charles de Gaulle, demanded its gold back. Planes full of US dollars flew to Paris and returned filled with gold bars. In 1971, President Richard Nixon made a shocking announcement. The United States would no longer exchange dollars for gold. The gold standard was dead, and the dollar became backed by nothing but trust. When money lost its anchor to gold, something profound changed. The dollar became a promise, not of metal, but of debt. Every new dollar is created through borrowing. When the government spends more than it earns, it issues treasury bonds. Investors, banks, and even other countries buy them. The Federal Reserve steps in, creating more dollars to buy more bonds, keeping interest rates low. The machine feeds itself. But here's the twist. Commercial banks also create money, not by printing it, but by typing it. You take a loan for a car. The bank doesn't give you someone else's savings. It creates new money with a few keystrokes and expects you to pay it back with interest. Every time someone borrows, the money supply grows. Every repayment destroys it. This system keeps the economy alive, but only as long as debt keeps growing. Behind it all stands the Bank of Central Banks, the Bank for International Settlements, or BIS, in Basel, Switzerland. They don't issue currency, they don't make the news, but they quietly coordinate the world's central banks, setting standards, interest rate policies, and global liquidity rules. The BIS is the hidden emperor's court, the place where money's laws are written. For decades, the system seemed unstoppable. Until 2008, cheap credit had inflated a housing bubble. Banks packaged mortgages into exotic securities. Ratings agencies stamped them safe. Investors around the world bought them, not realizing they were built on sand. When the first domino fell, the empire shook. Lehman Brothers collapsed. Global trade froze. Trillions vanished overnight. Millions lost jobs, homes, and futures. The empire faced its first real test, and it should have fallen, but instead of collapsing, it transformed. Central banks slashed interest rates to zero. The Federal Reserve printed $3 trillion in new money, a process called quantitative easing. Governments rescued failing corporations. The banks that caused the crisis became even bigger. The empire had survived, but at a cost. It learned it could save itself by printing wealth out of thin air. Today, the system is bigger and more fragile than ever. Global debt has surpassed $300 trillion. That's more than 3 times the world's total GDP. Governments borrow to survive. Corporations borrow to buy their own stocks. Consumers borrow to keep up. It's a global pyramid of credit, and at the base of it all is trust. Trust that tomorrow's money will still buy what today's did. Trust that inflation will stay manageable. Trust that central banks can control chaos. But trust is a currency too, and once it breaks, it doesn't return easily. This is the hidden empire's greatest secret. It can't stop growing. If the debt ever stops expanding, the system collapses. That's why crises never end. They evolve. Each bailout, each stimulus, each new program simply pushes the reckoning further away. Empires built on gold lasted centuries. Empires built on belief last only as long as that belief endures. Today's empire doesn't demand obedience through force. It earns it through convenience. Tap your card, click X,